All right, everybody, welcome to week 4. This video is going to outline a couple things, actually, but let's take a look at first what we have this week. Ethos, pathos, and logos video, I'm going to go over that right now. And then after that, I'm going to go over, I'll explain that assignment to go along with that video and this video, but then I'll also go over what exactly we're kind of doing now that you've gotten your topic and your thesis statement kind of fleshed out from last week. So let's take a look. Ethos, pathos, and logos. Now, ethos, pathos, and logos are actually pretty easy. Let me blow up my screen here. There we are. All right, so ethos, pathos, and logos. Really what we have here is a combination of strategies that you can use to help your reader understand and agree with what you're saying. So even if you may be saying something that they completely disagree with, let's say that you are, let's say that you're a conservative and what they have is completely the other end of the spectrum, something very liberal, and you are trying to get them to agree with you. And so one of the top ways that you can do that is following one of these 3 strategies: ethos, pathos, and logos. Now, what these are called, let's find the end of my screen here, are rhetorical strategies. These rhetorical strategies were developed, whoops, dropped my cap, by a philosopher named Aristotle. And what he did is he was looking at all of these different people presenting, and he would look at politicians and councilmen and everybody that held any degree of influence over any other group of people, and he looked at how did they make these other people, how did they get up in front of a crowd of people and make them listen to what they were saying and make them agree with what they were saying, even though it may go against what the audience's beliefs were in the first place. And so he realized that everybody that gave a good, solid presentation that actually got people to listen to them, they used one of 3 techniques: ethos, pathos, and logos. So let's talk about those. The very first one, ethos, and I'll go ahead and write the other 2. Pathos and logos. Can you see that? Okay. Yeah, perfect. All right, so ethos, pathos, and logos. Those are the 3 common strategies that you're going to have whenever you're presenting to anybody. Even if you're having a one-on-one conversation with somebody, if you're trying to get them to agree with you, chances are 99% sure you're going to fall into one of these 3 categories, at least one of these 3 categories, because you can use them in combination. But you'll fall into one of these 3 categories because that's naturally how arguments go. So the first one, ethos. This is talking about ethics. You can kind of see how the word ethos represents or resembles the word ethics. And the idea here is that what's going on is you're trying to present yourself as an ethical person, someone that has an ethical belief or someone that has an ethical stance or something like that. But you are presenting yourself as ethical. Now, when I say yourself, when you're presenting yourself, that doesn't mean that you're presenting yourself, like your body. You may be presenting your argument, your action, your paper, your idea, your topic, whatever it is, you are represented by whatever it is you're giving it. So presenting yourself or your topic or your content or your action, whatever it is, presenting yourself as an ethical option. One of the things that people often say whenever they're doing, or one of the things that they're kind of connoting or kind of reading between the lines, is you're presenting yourself as if you were saying this. I'm just like you, because you're coming into this saying either one of 2 things, and probably the latter. But you may be coming into it saying your idea isn't very ethical. Here's a better, more ethical idea that I think you should adopt. More often than not, however, you're going to be falling into this. You're going to say, you're an ethical person, I'm an ethical person, and I'm just like you, so I think you should listen to what I have to say. So for instance, if you were saying, and people's ethics could be different. But let's just go with one that everybody pretty well agrees on. Murder is wrong. Okay, just to go out and kill somebody in cold blood, that's kind of a bad idea. So I think everybody can agree on that, and if not, well, good thing it's an online class. But let's just say that we're all going to agree that murder is wrong. Okay, and if I'm saying that we need to stop murder, I'm going to come up in front of you and I'm going to say, you are a good person. You know that murder is wrong. I, like you, also know that murder is wrong. So you and I need to work together to achieve this solution to end murder. Okay? That's me appealing to your ethics, saying we have the same ethics. I'm just like you. Okay? That's ethical. Now the next one. A caveat to this. You can use ethos, pathos, and or logos. You can use any combination. You could use ethos and pathos. You could use ethos and logos. You could use ethos, pathos, and logos in your paper or your presentation or whatever. But the thing is that no matter what you're doing, whoops, trying to get my screen back up here, it's popping out. No matter what you're doing, you're presenting yourself in one of these three formats. At least one of these three. Excuse me, you may be presenting in two or all three of the formats. Now the second one, pathos. This is the only one that really doesn't look like its English counterpart, and that's because the word for this is emotion. It doesn't really, they don't really mesh very well, right? Ethos and ethics, they kind of look the same. And you'll see with logos, it's kind of the same way, but pathos, emotion, kind of hard to remember because the words don't look alike at all. And it's kind of funny, the way that I remember this, and this is totally nerdy of me, but whenever I was a kid, like 15 years ago, I was watching Dragon Ball Z, and there was this episode where Goku and Frieza are fighting, right? And in the episode, it's called the Pathos of Frieza, and I was like, oh, okay, I have no idea what that means. The 15-year-old me is like, that's a big word, I don't know what that means. And come to find out what it was talking about, Frieza was this big bad tyrant, and Goku was our superhero. He's like Superman, right? And he's coming down, and he's beating Frieza, and Frieza's been killing all kinds of people, destroying planets, doing all kinds of just thug life. And so Goku comes down and he's killing Frieza. Well, Frieza starts saying like, hey, you know what? My bad. I'm not going to kill anybody anymore. I'm not going to blow up any more planets. Show me some mercy. And so it's Frieza's pathos of Frieza. It's the emotions of Frieza. He's trying to appeal to the merciful side of our hero, right? And so that could be one instance of pathos. But another one that maybe everybody, if you didn't watch Dragon Ball Z, it probably makes no sense. But if you didn't, one of the things that everybody's familiar with are those commercials where you have like these really sad looking dogs and this really sad sounding music, and they play it together because they're trying to appeal to your pathos, to your emotions, right? They're trying to say, this is a bad situation. I bet you feel bad. If you don't want to feel bad about this anymore, you should help me. And so usually help me is like, give me a penny and these kids can eat, or let's neuter our dog or something. I don't know. Whatever it is. But the emotion is you're trying to feed on someone else's. You're trying to, first of all, generate an emotion in your audience. So we'll write that. Generates emotion in audience. Now I use the word audience because you're not necessarily getting a reader. This isn't just essay stuff. This is like me and you right now. I am probably not using it. I'm probably using logos because I'm giving you definitions, and we'll explain logos later. But the point being is that no matter what you're doing, me standing up here presenting, I'm using a rhetorical strategy. One of my strategies, if I wanted to, I could say, I'm a teacher, I'm respectable, I'm ethical, you can trust me that I'm giving you the right information. That's me in this presentation video. However, again, audience isn't necessarily a reader. This could be an essay, this could be a video, it could be a one-on-one conversation. No matter what you're doing, however you're communicating, you're falling into one of these. So that's why I use the word audience instead of reader. So, you're generating an emotion in an audience. After that, you're trying to feed off of that emotion. In order to get your audience to take action. Now, whenever you're doing something, whenever you're presenting, you have a goal in mind. Usually it's some kind of action that you want your readers or your audience to do. In this case, I want you guys to figure out what ethos, pathos, and logos is. So right now, if I was trying to generate emotion, maybe using humor, I'm trying to get you to kind of relax a little bit and think that maybe this is kind of a fun or funny situation, and I'm going to feed off of that emotion in order to get you to take an action. And in this case, I'm trying to feed off of that emotion to get you to learn something. So that's how pathos can work. Now, those two are a little bit more difficult than the last one. The last one, logos, it's pretty much exactly like it looks. It's logos, like as in like the Nike symbol. It's a physical representation. It's a logical representation of whatever it is you're trying to do. So we'll write logic then. Now that could be graphs, charts. I'll write a percent sign for percentages, facts. This is logos is really kind of the ones that everybody is used to using, because this is the one where you're really using it as a logical progression. And that will sound familiar this week because you're actually doing that for your topic selection from last week. But the idea behind logical progression is that you're giving them facts and letting those facts speak for themselves. And so, for instance, if I said 98% of the people passed Mr. Lee's class, well, that would be a pretty good, that kind of speaks for itself, right? It's logically a good idea to assume that you're going to pass, unless you fall into that 2%, which your odds are pretty good. So that's logos. Another one would be like, hey, look, there's a fire, right? There's a fire on the ground. We need to leave the building. That is a logical understanding. It makes, like, the fire speaks for itself. You're in danger. You need to go. That is a fact, okay? That would be like whatever you're trying to do, you're showing it through a physical representation of some kind. And then you're trying to make it a logical understanding. So that's what we have here. Ethos, pathos, logos. Those are all rhetorical strategies, okay? This, and let me go back to the website real quick. That is more or less, I'm going to get my cursor. There we go. Got it. Okay. That is more or less what this video is talking about. Purpose, audience, and genre is a little bit easier. Really what we're talking about is, with purpose, what is the action you're trying to get, right? This action back here. What is the purpose that for which you're writing this essay? What are you trying to get your audience to do? And then, of course, audience, who is your audience? Who are the people that you're writing to? And then the genre, that would be like, what kind of genre are you using? Genres could be anything from horror to comedy to documentary. Each genre kind of achieves a different thing. If you're writing a documentary, well, then you're telling mostly facts about whoever it is or whatever it is, and then you're using those facts to kind of draw a logical conclusion. So if that's the genre that you're trying to do, then just explain that. So now the rhetorical situation, that kind of puts a spin on what I've already got up here on the board. Now, for the rhetorical practice, what I want you guys to do is I want you to imagine that you just got pulled over by a cop and you've been doing 75 and a 55. For your initial post, I want you to, in 150 words, try and persuade me using ethos, pathos, and or logos. You can use a combination of any of them, and persuade me to only give you a warning, okay? After you do that, I want you to find somebody else's attempt at persuading the officer, and I want you to take on the role of the officer. So kind of reply to their post as if you were the officer and tell them, yes, I'm going to give you a warning, or no, I'm not going to give you a warning, I'm going to give you a ticket, and then I'm also going to measure to see how high your truck is off the ground to make sure, like, what level of jerk do you want to be whenever you're answering to this person, if you were the cop. That's for your reply, and make sure that one's got at least 50 words. Now, the rhetorical strategy, the assignment for your essay, I want you to decide which one of these three, ethos, pathos, and logos, are you going to try and use in your essay. Basically, what is going to be your rhetorical strategy? Even though it's an essay, you're still taking on a rhetorical strategy, because no matter what presentation format you're in, what mode of communication you're using, you're going to have naturally an approach to rhetorical strategy. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about, actively think about which one you're going to use. No, normally you just kind of naturally gravitate towards one or the other, or a combination of them, depending on your topic. But I want you to actually think about which one you want to use. That way when you're writing, you can think back, okay, I'm trying to be logical, I'm trying to focus on logos, I'm trying to be logical, I want to focus on facts, I want to focus on percentages and things like that. And when you do that, it helps you to kind of stay within that rhetorical strategy, and ultimately it makes a better paper. And now the works cited page, that's pretty easy. The works cited page is more or less just add 2 sources to the sources you already had from your annotated bibliography, and just make them a works cited page. You don't have to do an annotated bibliography for writing project 2. Just give me your sources, 5 sources, and put them in an MLA works cited page, and turn that in on this assignment block. Now the rubric, that's going to be pretty self-explanatory. That's how I grade your papers. Check out the analysis, the causal analysis sample paper 1 and 2. Those are papers that I've received in the past that received at least an 80%, because that's what I consider to be a good paper. And check those out and look to see what things they did well and what things kind of look that remind you of your own writing. Because those things that remind you of your own writing, if it's in these papers, then it's probably a good thing. And these are the kind of the papers that you want to model your paper after. Now, quite literally, you have the template here that I've given you, and you should model your paper literally after that. Like, what I would do is I would open this. Let me show you. I would open this, and I would just plug in my paper into this, okay? Let's hope it loads up here. All right, I'm gonna click here. Oh, crap, it downloaded. I didn't even see that down there. Okay, so there is a template here, I promise. There we are. Okay, so enable the editing. Now this is literally just a plug in and go. So student name, plug in your name. Professor name, plug in my name. Course and assignment name, plug in the course or assignment name. Date, plug in the date. Plug in the student last name, and of course page 1. Plug in your title. Now each paragraph here explains what I want in each paragraph. So there's your introduction, your literature review, your causal relationship, and your evidence. This is more or less how you should format any cause and effect paper. Okay? So what I want you guys to do is, I mean, you have an option. You can write your own essay. If you don't like fitting into a mold when it comes to writing, you're more than welcome to create your own. I just provided this because I know it's kind of difficult to get a firm grasp on what the teacher is wanting whenever you're in an online class. And so I provided this template so that you can just have it. You don't have to worry about formatting. You don't have to worry about what is it that he wants, what is it that he doesn't want. You can just plug in your writing, and this way it's focused, my grading is focused more on content rather than how you formatted your paper. So literally you can just, quite literally, you can just plug in everything you want to add to the paper. And it explains, like in the literature review, it tells you what I'm looking for in a literature review. Okay, so back to week 4. There we are. All right, so that is the first, 6 items or so. The rubric, the template, there we are. So the peer review questions. Now, also due this week is the rough draft for writing project 2. So I'm going to give you another video here in just a second that kind of outlines the structure of an essay and the variables of a causal analysis essay, and I'm going to put that on the board behind me. So that video is going to review these 2 things, but just kind of an overview for the assignment. Just like last time, you'll submit your rough draft here, and you'll post it. Post it by June 26th. You got 13 days from the day that I'm making this video, which I'll post this video tonight. So if you're working ahead, you can actually access week 4 pretty early. Nonetheless, the rough draft is due on the 26th, and then also I want you to use these peer review questions to provide one other peer, at least one other peer, with 5 points of constructive criticism. Now, what I mean by constructive criticism is that your criticism, your suggestions have to be suggestions for change. You can't just say, good job on here, this isn't good, this is great, you're a good writer, blah, blah, blah. I want 5 things that you're telling that person to change about their essay. So if you say you did a poor job with your comma usage, instead of just saying they did a bad job, tell them what to change. On page 5, paragraph 2, sentence 3, you could use a comma after the word whatever. And That way you're giving them specific things to change. Now, also what you could say is that I don't like, something that you could say is, I don't feel like your literature review really explains the problem of your social issue very well. I don't really understand what the problem is with gun control. Like, why do we need that stuff? I feel like your literature review could expand on that or something like that. So it can be as specific as in a comma after a particular word, or it can be as big as, I don't like your literature review and I think you need more information regarding your problem. Or it could be, I don't understand how your two variables are linked. Try and make that a little bit more clear, or in paragraph 5 or whatever. So as long as you're giving them things to change, that counts as one of the 5 items that you can give them for suggestions on things to change. So other than that, I'm about to start another video explaining what I'm looking for in Writing Project 2. So other than that, I'm going to close out this video. If you have any questions, of course, be sure to ask me via Skype, email, text, or phone call. I actually broke my phone yesterday. I dropped it on the steps. So I'm going to have a new phone by tomorrow. So if I haven't answered your texts, I will. But nonetheless, go ahead and pass me on some questions if you have them. If not, good on you, and I will see you guys next week.